Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me on another session of Ask Me Anything. Appreciate you taking the time. In this session, just like we always do, we'll try to answer some of the questions you have about the recruitment process, questions you have about maybe the application or our fitness standards, our interview process, and certainly anything and everything that has to do with you getting hired with us, possibly for our next intakes when the next intakes are. So as I wait for people to join and hop on, certainly those of you following us on different platforms, you'll be able to engage and ask questions through the chat process. Throw your questions in there, and I'll do my best to try to get to answer all of them. I tell you this each and every time that I'm going to get to all of them. So I'm hoping maybe today is the day that I get to all of them. So as we wait, I just want to kind of talk about some of the events that are happening across the province in different areas that give you the chance to engage with recruiters, attend the events, to understand what we're trying to do in terms of helping you potentially get hired for our next intake. So the next event, or one of the events that we are attending, which will be on Saturday coming 5th at 11:30 a.m., we're going to be at the FitFest event in Ottawa at the Immaculata. Hopefully I'm saying that in Ottawa there. So that's an event that we're really looking forward to being at. Again, I think this marks their second anniversary, focusing on fitness, wellness, networking, and overall just having a good time and good energy at the event. I know advisor Louise, we've been working with her and her team to participate at this event. So again, we're appreciative of the opportunity to be there, and certainly looking to engage with most of you. If you're looking to attend, and if you are on the fence or haven't been notified of the event, this is it. So please go check out their website or check out our post on it, so you'll have the information about it. Again, the event's meant to promote fitness, but also engage, and we're going to be there. Recruiters will be there to talk to you, and if you're going to work out, break a little sweat, and also maybe get into our next recruit class. Certainly, this is an event that you want to be at. So again, the FitFest in Ottawa, July 25th at 11:30 a.m. At the Immaculata turf field. We will be there. And I also want to thank those of you that were at our Bilingual Abound in Sudbury over the weekend, this past weekend. It was nice to meet many of you there. Some of my colleagues had a really good chance to engage with you. You had a chance to engage with a lot of the specialty units that were there to showcase what it's like to work in Northeast region. So again, thanks for the opportunity to participate with us there. So that was a good event. There's a few events that are actually happening throughout the week. This week in East Region, we'll be at Quinte West Detachment for some of the events, for our pop-up events at the Quinte West Detachment. So if you haven't seen our beautiful Quinte West Detachment bordering Belleville there, we had a few events throughout the week, and certainly we will continue to have them. Our recruitment outreach officer, Sergeant Gabrielli, and Constable Colville will be there to engage with you and answer questions about anything you need to know about our recruitment process. And then if you're looking for some events in the GTA, I will be hosting an information session at the Mississauga Detachment. So certainly it's a great way for you to kind of see our beautiful Mississauga Detachment, a brand new one, a few years now. So certainly if that's a location that you want to be posted at or want to know what it's about, please come on by. It's going to be at 11 a.m. tomorrow. So please go on our Eventbrite site to sign up for that posting to attend. Free for you to attend. 24th, I will also be at the Brampton City Hall for another information session that we're hosting. So again, to attend and engage with us. Most of our events you'll find at opp.ca/events, especially some of our events that we are having throughout the month as we wrap up July and into August. If you go on opp.ca/events, you'll see our fitness events that we're hosting. One of the new locations that we are going to be attending is our LA Fitness location in Barrie. So we thank them for the opportunity to utilize their facilities to host shuttle run sessions for you. So again, please keep an eye out for our Eventbrite notification so you can sign up and attend. And as always, opp.ca/careers will be your starting point when it comes to any sort of information regarding the positions that we're currently hiring for, the application process that you need, the portal that you need to access to. So again, that's where you would start off. And finally, the Honda Indy happening on August 14th, 15th, and 16th in York region. We will be there all 3 days. Our recruiters will be there. Our ambassadors will be there. We'll also have different vehicles that you'll be able to get into, about. So again, August 14th, 15th, and 16th for the Honda Indy. So look forward to seeing many of you at those events also. And a few weeks ago, we launched our 30 Forward initiative. So you'll see a lot of our events moving forward. We will have events focused solely on women recruitment, events focusing on how we can support and mentor to focus on the 30 Forward initiative. So again, those are things that you'll be able to kind of engage on as we move forward with some of the events. Okay, getting to our questions here. I can see they're coming in steadily. So thank you for joining the session today. I'll try to answer all the questions as we move forward, and any questions that if I miss them, certainly I'll try to get you the answer as we get to the next sessions too. Okay. Okay, here we go. Can you, officer, can you please advise on how long it takes to hear back after a background and psych test when it's done? So it varies depending on, again, as you can imagine, there's various files that are moving through the hiring process at any given time. So we don't give you a specific timeline as we give you in the instructions, because usually when you're in the psych and the background stages of your process, it totally depends on how in-depth your file is, because some people might have a very small portfolio in terms of their background or employment history, or maybe they've lived, or some people might have a big portfolio in terms of the amount of jobs they've done, their education, their family. So a lot of factors go into that process. So what I would really encourage you to do is to be patient. Certainly you can always email us at opphire file, but certainly on your portal, you'll also be able to see the status of your file. So I would say be patient. Certainly you're stages, final review stage, we will contact you to speak to you to confirm details. Question here from Linda here: what age is required to apply? So look at a perfect segue of the minimum requirements that you need to have to apply to the OPP. So the minimum requirements are slightly they maybe are municipal partners. And I'll break it down this way. So the minimum requirements from an age perspective, you need to be 18 years of age or older. But as long as there's no over the age of 18, you are essentially eligible to apply. You need to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. Either one of those two parameters need to be met. Either you need to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. You have to have a high school diploma. So Ontario second diploma. So what is an equivalent? So essentially, if you had your education completed in another part, in another country, as long as you had assessed to meet Ontario standards, that essentially meets your requirement for the education standard. You also need to be able to drive. So you have your full G license with no more than 6 demerit points. So that is a requirement. If you have your license in another part of the province, that's acceptable. But certainly, if you have an international driver's license, you would still need to obtain the Canadian equivalent for it. Okay. No criminal record, unless you've received a pardon for it. Again, you also need to be able to read, write, and speak fluently. If you speak a second language, that's great. That would be considered a special skill set. But the requirement is that you're fluent in English. Okay. You also need to have the standard first aid and level C CPR. Again, if you don't have it at the application stage, that's fine. But as long as you have it, that's what we're looking for. The job. And finally, yes, which is getting level 7 on the shuttle run. And as I mentioned at the start there, we do host a lot of shuttle run sessions in person throughout various parts of the province. So please go on events page, opp.ca/events. Look at which shuttle run session is close to you. Please attend. Even if the session is full, I would still encourage you to attend as a walk-in because we do accept walk-ins. And that way you can run and do the test in front of us, as many of our recruiters, actually all of them, are fitness appraisers. So we'll be able to guide you and essentially get you through the shuttle run session. So that way, if you're capable of achieving level 7, there's also an extra incentive where you can bypass the fitness session in the hiring process. Okay, so those are the minimum requirements that you need to have when it comes to applying for the OPP. You do not need to have your OACP certificate. I know many of the municipal partners require that, but you do not need to have that for the OPP. That answered the question there, Linda. Again, I just answered what's the current fitness test. So the current fitness assessment that we have in the hiring process for the OPP is strictly the shuttle run. You have to be able to obtain level 7 on the shuttle run, 1 initially at the start of the process, and 1 at the end after you are given the job offer. Okay. Okay, let's see here. I'm just moving right on up here to some of the other questions that we have. Questions right now for the cadet, so the auxiliary and the cadet. I guess what the requirements or what the difference is. So we currently accept applications. We are accepting applications for the auxiliary process. So please go on our OPP website, opp.ca/careers, and you can start the portal for the auxiliary process. And again, we have the minimum requirements listed there. The cadet program, we are not currently accepting applications for the cadet program. But certainly if we feel as you go through the process, you're more suitable for a cadet program, certainly then we will consider you for that program. But you would still need to apply as a constable. So all the qualifications for the constable is what you would need to follow to submit the applications. In your cover letter, you can let us know that maybe if the cadet program is what you're interested in, certainly you can articulate that in your cover letter, but you would still need to apply through the constable stream. Okay. Question here, I'm getting my application put together. How many letters of reference should I have? Following with the fitness log, do I need to be over the PIN percentage to pass, or is the equivalent of, or is that evaluated at the OPC? So as I mentioned earlier, the only assessment that we have for you, or the testing that we have for you from a fitness perspective in the hiring process, is the shuttle run, and you have to be able to get level 7. But in the fitness logs, you need to submit 2 weeks worth of fitness logs along with your application. And in the fitness logs, we have various different areas that we assess you on. But again, it's only a self-assessment in the sense that you list what you do to maintain your fitness. So you can put, if you do your PIN test, certainly we're looking for that once a week if you're able to do that. If you do it multiple times a week, that's great. The passing score on a PIN test is 75%. And the PIN test is evaluated on your push-up, your core, your flexibility, and your run score. Whether it's the 2.4 kilometer run or the shuttle run. Again, if you go on pfpo.org, they break it down in terms of how the fitness PIN is assessed, okay? We're looking for 2 minimum, at least 2. And the reference letters could be a character reference letter from anyone. But if you have more than 2, certainly we encourage you to add those letters also. but at least 2 minimum is what we're looking for with your application submission. So Miles, hopefully that helps you in preparing for your application, and certainly we look forward to seeing your application once you submit it. So Gavin, is I guess your question about in-person shuttle run for dates in August. They will be released soon. Actually, as I mentioned earlier, we will have, depending on where you are, one of our newest locations that we will have our shuttle run sessions will be at the LA Fitness location in Barrie, along with all the other locations that we have. Usually we try to have 1 to 2, possibly 3 at each region across the province every single month. So please look at our opp.ca/events page to look at which ones are coming up. We usually post them there, so you can sign up through Eventbrite for them. Okay. Vision requirements. What are the vision requirements? Are there different opportunities with the OPP if my vision doesn't meet the requirements? So to be a police officer, there is a vision and hearing requirement that you must meet. If you are concerned maybe that, maybe your vision or hearing is not up to standard and you don't know what those standards are, we made it easy for you. We available for you. All you need to go and visit is the opp.ca/careers. And then if you would click on the frequently asked questions FAQ page, and we have listed everything in terms of the requirements for the vision and the hearing standard. What I would truly encourage you to do, if you're concerned about the vision and hearing, please go see your optometrist or audiologist, print out the vision and hearing standards, and have yourself assessed. And the reason that I say that is, if you were to go through the whole process and you make it to the end of the process, and you get at that point, you find out that you don't meet the standard, it really does prevent us from giving you a potential job offer, which is not what we want to see. We want to see people be successful and prepared for this process. So prior to even going through starting the process, I would really encourage you to get your vision and hearing tested if you're concerned about it, and then making sure that you meet the standards. And if there are deficiencies that your optometrist or audiologist see, now they can provide you proper recommendation from their expertise. They're the experts in this field, so they'll be able to give you some recommendations to see how you can meet the standard. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. Question here. Hello, Sergeant Raj. I'm working on the pre-background questionnaire. Some of the text boxes are smaller. May I add a blank sheet with the question I am answering, so I may be able to add more detail for submitting. So pre-background questionnaire is a questionnaire that you will receive prior to attending the interview. We have a set of questions that gives us knowledge and preparation in getting ready for your interview. So if you need more space to articulate a situation, or you want to give more context to a situation that you were involved in, absolutely, I would truly encourage you to take the time to write all that up, so that way a recruiter that reads your pre-background questionnaire has proper information, in-depth information, as they prepare to conduct your interview. And all the very best with your interview there, Rusty the legend. Rolando, question about, since English is not my primary language, I'd like to know what test you use to assess English proficiency. Yeah, great question. Do you utilize the same as the OACP, Association of Chiefs of Police? We do conduct a SIGMA test, which is a 35-minute time test, which assesses your reading, writing comprehension of the English language. If you go through the OACP process, you would have obtained that, and we would utilize that. So we would take that as your result, and we would use that to analyze your proficiency when it comes to the English language. Question here. Thank you for the questions. As I scroll down here, question: how long will Ontario pay for the OPP recruitment process? I assume you're asking about the Ontario Police College cost that's currently covered. So as of right now, the cost to attend Ontario Police College is covered through the provincial. I haven't gotten any updates in terms of any other information. Certainly, it gives candidates the ability to, certainly without having to pay for it. So that's always a great benefit. And you know what, since you asked the question about Ontario Police College, gives me a nice little segue to talk about the training portion of it and what happens, because it's a question we constantly get asked. So I'll go over that a little bit here. You know, once you are hired and you get ready to attend training, our next intake for the regular recruit class will be on August 30th. I think that's when we have all of our new recruits that we hire for the next intake at the Provincial Academy and the Ontario Police College will happen. What will happen is you'll come for the initial orientation, which is an 8-day orientation that happens at Aurelia here. You know, that's where you get to meet all your fellow OPP recruits. You'll get to, you know, get all your uniform and all your kit. You'll get to meet all the wonderful instructors that will be guiding you as you go through the training process. And you also have a lot of paperwork that you need to sign, right? So you have a lot of paperwork that you'll sign, but it's a very engaging 8 days. You know, you get to stay here at our facility during that time for orientation. And once the orientation phase finishes, you'll start the 13 weeks of training with the Ontario Police College, who provide that to you. Again, no cost to you, but you are still getting paid as a brand new recruit with us at that point. The first 3 weeks of the Ontario Police College training will be done and conducted virtually. So you'll have virtual training that you will attend. And the 10 weeks after that, you will physically report to the Ontario Police location, which is located at Aylmer, Ontario, close to London, Ontario. So that's where you will be physically reporting to. And during that time, essentially at the practical sessions, you know, you'll be trained on many things: police vehicle operations, firearms trainings, defensive tactics. You'll learn many things about, you know, criminal code, the Highway Traffic Act, the Mental Health Act. So various topics of what you need to know to be a successful police officer when you hit the road. Yes, there are exams and tests that you need to pass when you're at the Ontario Police College. And the pass for the exam is 75%, right? But don't worry, we're going to prepare you. We'll make sure that you're set up for success. And, you know, for those of you that are hired, certainly you will have the knowledge and the background and the motivation to make sure you pass with flying colors when you're at the Ontario Police College. Once you finish Ontario Police College, then you'll report to the Provincial Police Academy back here in Aurelia, where you'll have Part A, Part B training. The Part A would be a 6-week training where you and the fellow OPP recruits have very specific targeted training that's provided by our provincial academy. You know, we focus on practical scenarios, judgment-based training, essentially everything that you would need to know and to be prepared as you hit the road training. Once the 6 week is complete, you'll then report to your detachment that you're posted at for 13 weeks, where you now have experience or knowledge that you'll be able to work with your coach officer. You'll be dealing with the public, answering calls for service for the 13 weeks. And then once the 13 weeks are complete, you'll then return back to the Provincial Academy for the Part B training of the post OPC, which is another 4 weeks, where we finalize and top up and upskill training for you, so that way you're a well-rounded officer that's set for success as you go through your probation period. So again, that's a lot of information for you to kind of take in, but certainly I think it'll be a very enjoyable time as you go through it for many recruits. Once to them, I think many of them probably say exactly, you know, some of the things that they probably were deficient in, or maybe were not confident in. We're able to top them up and really truly get them to a point where they're reporting to their detachment being so much more confident in their ability. So it's truly a remarkable experience there. Question here. I just submitted my application 2 weeks ago. Is there any possibility of potentially starting for the late August intake if all goes well, or at this point, most likely looking for the December intake? So we usually, Dimitri, thanks for the question. So we usually say 4 to 6 months. We try and give you that range. But again, it could be, I've seen candidates move through the process swiftly and quickly, sometimes earlier than the 4-month mark. If you're telling me that you submitted the application about 2 weeks ago, and for you to potentially make the class for August 30th, I find that that's going to be very, very tight. We just don't have the time and the capacity to run you through the full gambit of stages that we hire. So I would probably say your best bet would be potentially is for the December intake. And talking about what the application process looks like, I'll just go over that real quick for you. Initial stage is stage number 1, which is the application submission. So for that stage, you would go on opp.ca/careers, and you would sign up to create a portal link for yourself. In that portal, you'll see currently 3 different options. You'll see the constable option, you'll see the experienced police officer option, and you'll then see the auxiliary option. Obviously, if you're looking for the constable option, please pick that. The second stage, after you submit all the information, again, there's a lot of information that we ask in that portal. So please don't rush to submit the application. Take your time. Take your time to look at the info that we're asking for. We're hiring 365 days a year. We've been here since 1909. We're not closing up shop anytime soon. So take the time to put the right info, make someone review your document. Sometimes we find, when you submit documentation or your application that's not detailed and thorough, now our wonderful admin people that review all your information will have to send it back to you. It delays the process for you, right? So please don't create more work for our admin people. They're amazing. They look at so much stuff, and they want to help you move through the process swiftly and quickly. So make sure you have somebody review the information that you have put in the portal before you hit that submit button. And the portal also is very intelligent in the sense that it's not going to let you submit the application without it being 100% complete. So please make sure that you're getting everything attached properly, the way, the format that we want it in, the proper naming convention for each of the document that you submit, because it just makes the process quicker for you. Once you submit the application, you'll move on to the next stage, which is our fitness assessment stage. Essentially, what we're looking for is level 7 on the shuttle run. That's what we're looking for from you. One other advice, if you're not currently able to get level 7, please hold off on submitting that application. Make sure you can get level 7 prior to submitting the application. Because if you submit the application, and when we ask you to submit the shuttle run, whether if it's in person or through a virtual submission, if you're not able to do so, now again, it's going to delay your application as it goes through the process. So please make sure you're ready, you're capable of meeting level 7 before you submit that application. Once you show us successfully that you can get level 7, your application now moves on to the next stage, which is the pre-screening assessment phase. Essentially, this is where we look at your entirety of the application to make sure that you're a competitive candidate for us. And if you're deemed a competitive candidate, you'll be invited to our interview process. Currently, our local focus and essential competency interview is blended into one interview. And currently, we are doing virtual style interview at this point, one-on-one with the recruiter like myself or my wonderful colleagues, who essentially will go over everything that you bring to the table as a complete applicant to assess you, to see if you're the right fit for this career, and if you're the right fit for this organization, for the OPP, to be an officer with us. And certainly, I think many people initially at the interview, and I see this all the time, the interview, especially a policing interview, is nerve-wracking at times. So we understand that. All of our recruiters are very, wonderful officers, and make sure we, try to get you to a spot where you're comfortable in the interview. You get a chance to really articulate yourself. You get a chance to really share who you are with us. Not only all your experience, but also your personality, your traits, your background. We want to certainly, hire people that have wealth and knowledge and experience, but also, the uniqueness that you bring to the table. That's what we want also. So, initially I find many people are very, very nervous on. They really do settle into a nice little rhythm, and now you start to really see their personality come out. So I find it very, very refreshing. What is it? How do you feel? They feel like, oh my God, I can't believe 2 hours went by or 2.5 hours went by. For them, it flew in a second. So that's how usually many people feel at the end of the interview. After the interview, if you're successful, you'll move on to the stage of our process where you'll be able to undertake psych testing, written with the background investigation. All that is complete. Final review is done on your file. And if everything goes well, certainly you'll get that phone call from us with an offer of employment, along with where you're going to be. So one of the biggest things that we offer is when we call you with the job offer, we're also going to tell you where you're going to be posted, which I think many people appreciate because there's no surprises, right? You're going to know from the 6 detachments that you picked, we try and give you one of the top 6 that you pick, which again speaks to making sure that we set you up for success, making sure we take into consideration your family obligations, personal obligations, along with what we want for our organization. So that's pretty much in terms of how the hiring process works. And usually we say 4 to 6 months, but I find many people were able to process in a quick format to 4 months or under that. Okay. Melissa, question about, are you able to choose what detachments you are assigned to? Absolutely. So in our hiring process, we let you pick which detachments you want to potentially be posted at, and you actually can rate them from number 1 to number 6. 6 our wonderful hiring managers, our staff sergeants, we have 3 of them. So they usually are able to review everything, look at your personal situation, look at where you currently reside, what factors, you put into the interview and your background stages in terms of where you want to be considered for posting. They take all that into consideration. So we truly want to make sure we want to give you a posting that, is desirable to you. And we truly do that at many of our posting selections. So that's when I talked about, when you get the job offer, we actually tell you where you're going to be. So you have the chance to digest it, speak to your family or your partners, and make a decision that, bodes well for you. So that's how it goes. And again, you have the whole province to play with. You can pick any detachment across the province, depending on if you want to stay locally where you are, or if you want to try something new and you want to go to a different location, certainly you can put that also, okay? And you can always update and change your detachments throughout the hiring process. So if you posted 6 detachments at the start, but as you're going through the process, you've learned more about a different location, or you've seen things, or you're interested in a different scenario, or your personal scenario situation has a different location, you can update your detachments to reflect that right up until we give you the job offer. Okay. Wow. Okay. I got to really get to some of the questions here as I'm falling behind. Here, let me see if there's one that I haven't answered. Okay. Question about volunteering. I know this comes up all the time. Many people are very nervous about volunteering, and whether they've had volunteering in their past or they're currently doing volunteering. Denise, I believe, is asking, what about volunteering? What if I have 0 hours because of full-time work and obligations? Absolutely. So applies to many of us. Again, many of us have many things we're trying to juggle in our life, from work, family obligations. Maybe you have kids, maybe you travel for work. So all these factors come into play. So we understand that. So that's why we have the 10 areas of assessment that we have created. So naturally, I'm going to kind of segue to that and kind of touch on that a little bit. So volunteering being one of the 10 areas of assessment, we're looking for, maybe 2 ways. I'll break this down. One is formal volunteering and one is informal volunteering. Formal volunteering could be where you, once a week, you volunteer hours to maybe the food bank. You go every Sunday, you give an hour of your time to volunteer time to help at the food bank. That would be considered formal volunteering. Informal volunteering can be considered many other things that maybe you're not part of an organization, you don't volunteer for an organization, but you give your time to help someone in need or someone that needs your help, where they benefit from your time or the work that you provide them. That's informal volunteering. And many of us do this in our personal life. So if you're able to articulate how you do that, that would still be considered volunteering. So don't be so focused on, maybe not having enough hours, or maybe you're not doing it consistently. Try the best that you can with your current life and your work situation, whatever it is, to see how you can articulate this. And maybe if you talk to your family and friends, they might be able to also highlight some of the things that you've done in the past that speaks to this area. So that's how I would approach it. And if you're able to start something, again, we're not looking for hours or specific hours. We're just looking for consistency. Even if it's 1 week or 1 hour a week or 1 hour a month, but you do it consistently, that speaks volumes. So that's what we want to see. Consistency where you're giving your time, giving up your time to help others. That's what we want to see when it comes to the volunteering factor. Okay, so hopefully I answered that for you. Question here. Let me see. What is per, oh wow. Okay, let me see here. Oh, okay. So, hi. Currently, I'm 21. I skipped high school, but currently pursuing my chance to join the OPP. Absolutely. There's nothing that stops you from applying to the OPP, no matter what your background is or what decisions you've made in your life in the past. As long as you meet the minimum requirements. If you don't have your high school diploma, GED, you can go right to GED. You can get your GED, and there's many ways you can obtain that. So you have a lot of runway ahead of you. You're still very young. You say you're 21. Again, 18 is the initial requirement. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on this potential. Absolutely obtain. Go on our website, opp.ca/careers. Look at the 10 areas of assessment that we have for you. Assess yourself in each of the areas. See where you can improve. Certainly on the education side, you've already hit it. You need to get your high school diploma. You know that. You can full-time through GED options, right? You can also do many online certificate routes that give you the ability to gain in different areas. So I would say totally go for it. If you need to speak to a recruiter, certainly myself, I work out. Give me a call. I'd love to hop on the phone with you just to make sure that you know what to pursue if you truly want to make yourself competitive as you go through the process. Okay. John, thank you. Doing a great job, Prash. Thanks, John. I actually used to work with John back in the day when I was with TTC. Thank you. I haven't seen a long time, but I appreciate you giving me the kudos. John was good. Matthew. There you go. Obviously, Matthew, he's an auxiliary member with us. He's putting the plug in for the auxiliary role. So certainly, if you're considering policing, but maybe if it's not something that you're looking to apply to right away, certainly, like Matthew mentioned, auxiliary role would be an ideal start for you. And we're actively hiring auxiliary officers. And I know Matthew and his team do a great job of promoting the auxiliary events, whether it's through information at many of our events. A lot of the ones that we host, they're at these events. So if you're looking to maybe consider the auxiliary route to see what that's about, please go on our website, apply for the auxiliary profession. It gives you insight into the organization. It gives you the ability to participate in ride-alongs, go to calls for service, participate in community events. You truly get to understand what police officers do on a day-to-day basis. So you can technically still work your current job or be in the profession that you're currently in, but still come and work, and sorry, I shouldn't say work, volunteer in a policing organization such as the OPP to understand how we function, how the policing realm is. And then, if it's something that's interesting to you and you want to pursue the constable process, certainly now you have a chance to, go into that process with fully being aware what this profession is all about. So yeah, absolutely, Matthew. So thank you for that. Question here. Thanks for answering our question. So this question from Melissa. As much as I want to be a police officer, I want to make sure that I am a suitable member to be an officer. Is there a specific personality characteristic trait that office? So certainly there's a lot of assessments that we do as you're going through the hiring process, whether it's at the application stage, at the interview stage, our psychological assessment phase, our background phase. Certainly there's a lot of assessment that we do when it comes to that. But don't let that stop you from applying or considering this profession. Again, we will speak to you, we will mentor you, we will coach you if you have questions or if you have any. There's a specific thing that you want to know about what makes a good officer, or if you want to know, hey, these are the type of skill sets I bring the person I am. Do you think, I may be suitable for this job? I find many people are suitable for this job, because we're looking for people that represent the community. We want to be reflective of the communities that we serve, which means we want people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different countries, because people with those experiences certainly enrich our organization, because we want to serve and reflect the communities that we provide policing services to. So I think certainly if you come from that perspective, because policing and law enforcement, that can be taught. We can teach you that. We can teach you how to be proficient in a firearm, by shooting a firearm. We can teach you how to operate a police vehicle on patrol. We can teach you how to operate the database, of policing databases, right? But some other skill sets, for example, the type of language or the cultural norms that you're used to, that from a specific community that you come from, we can't teach you that, right? You bring that to the table, and you are bringing that to the table. So I would say, have an open mind. If you haven't considered this profession, have an open mind. Come out one of our information sessions. Come to some of the events that we host. Engage and speak to our officers. I think you'll walk away from some of the perspectives that we provide you, and you might even surprisingly find that people from your background or your specialty area of work of area might be officers with us, right? So just take a chance, right? Take a chance and see how it goes. Question here. Can we please have a recruiter attend Durham College, Oshawa, to speak with the Police Foundation program? Absolutely. So as you know, we are very engaged with a lot of our college programs, the Police Foundation programs. So the schools are not in September starts. You will see many of our recruiters at different colleges and location that we're there will see us there. Okay, so we will see you in September. Question: still attend the info session at Mississauga Detachment? It says sold out. Man, this is the thing. You gotta get on these sessions quick, right? So I actually will be at Mississauga. I'm the one that's hosting the session in Mississauga tomorrow. The thing with the Mississauga Detachment is it's not an auditorium. I have an auditorium built in, so the amount of people that we can allow is limited. But certainly, I don't want to say no to you. Please do come. But I want to give you the heads up. Sometimes if a person doesn't show up and if a spot's available, that acceptance and let you in. But if you show up and everybody does show up and it's full, unfortunately, I won't be able to let you in. But certainly, you know what? Why don't we take a chance? Why don't we take a chance? Please do show up if it's close to you, and hopefully, Rusty, I can accommodate you. Okay. Question here: how long do you have to wait to apply for the constable position if you are an auxiliary member with the OPP? We don't have specific requirements, but if you were recently just hired with the auxiliary program, point of view, so you can learn and benefit and have some growth in that position. So even if you at least give possibly an year into the program, it's all about your knowledge and growth, right? So there's no set time that we're asking you to be there, but ideally you don't want to get into a new position and a month later you're applying for the constable position. What sort of knowledge would you have gained in being in that position? So give yourself the chance to learn and grow and truly understand the organization as a whole, which will then benefit you as you apply for the constable position. Okay. Question here. Here, I'm just gonna try to see if there's answer this question. How much do constables make in a year? I was surprised I was not getting the question. So here it is. It's coming right now. So certainly, when you get hired, you start off as a recruit class constable. So currently our recruit class constable salary is just shy of about $68,000, which is about $67,632 specifically. That's the recruit class constable salary. The moment you finish your recruit training and you report to the detachment as a probationary constable, now your salary jumps to about $86,233, right? And it takes about 3.5 years for you to go from a probationary constable to a first class constable, which the first class constable rate currently is set at about $123,194. Again, and that's just the base salary. So, if you have intentions to work more than that, whether it's overtime or our deployments that we have province for FIFA, where you have many OPP officers that were deployed across the province that came to downtown Toronto to work. Now, certainly, they're working on on top of their base salary. So again, there are opportunities for you to do that. But going back to what I had initially said in your recruit class, constantly about $10,000 at training phase. When you report to the provisioning stage, your first year on the job, it jumps to about $86,000. Certainly, when you get to the first class constable rate, it's about $124,000. Okay, so hopefully that's something. Again, you can get this info on our website, opp.ca. Here's we break it down for you there too. Okay. Question about ride-alongs. What's the best way to apply for a ride-along? Again, it's on a case-by-case basis. One of the things you can do is, depending on which locations you're looking to attend, or maybe just attend the detachment. Go speak to the detachment member. Tell them you're a potential applicant for the OPP and you're interested in working at this detachment. Usually, all of our members, our management, our staff sergeants, they're very, very open to answering questions about what it's like working there. And you can ask them the question. If they're able to offer you a ride along, certainly they'll consider that. If they're unable to, again, because it's a functioning detachment, sometimes they're not able to offer you a ride along. So it's a case by case that the detachment makes a decision on. But you know what? If you don't shoot, you don't score. So I would say go attend the detachment, ask them if you're able to do it, and certainly let's see if they're able to offer you that chance. Because certainly a ride-along is a great opportunity for you to kind of see what an officer does when they show up to work. You get exposed to a lot of varying calls for service, and you get to pick the brain of the officer that you're maybe doing the ride-along with, which can also benefit you, right, as you get prepared for this. Question here. I just passed my shuttle run, and I'm currently doing my fitness logs. They need to be handed by the end of the month, and I was wondering if it was okay to have empty logs because of the start date. So again, please fill out each category for the entire month. We're looking for each week that you would submit. Initially, for the application phase, you would only need to submit the 2 weeks of the fitness logs. But as you move on in the process, now you would be submitting them on a monthly basis. So if there's a reason why you have empty logs, please just make sure you articulate that. Maybe if there was some sort of surgery or if you were sick. Again, all reasonable explanations, but just make sure that you properly articulate that, okay? Don't just leave it blank. If I got deferred last year in the background stage, is it worth reapplying? Yes. Factors that go into play, and you yourself might not even know what the reasons were as to why you were deferred. So don't assume that maybe it was apply. Many people for various reasons get deferred in the process. Doesn't necessarily mean strong candidate. And doesn't necessarily mean we're not going to hire them when they reapply. So many people have, at some stages in the process have been deferred. They wait and reapply again, and they have been successful in our process. So don't let that stop you. Don't let that deter you. Please put your best foot forward as you apply for the next application, and hopefully that application is the one that gets you to success. Okay. Question here. I think I answered that. A question here about the slight monocular vision. Alexander, you would have to get that assessed by your optometrist. Because again, we have the standards in terms of what you need to meet, but that is a question that your optometrist would be able to answer based on what the requirements are that we have mandated on the vision requirement. So please consult your optometrist, and they would probably be able to answer that for you. Okay. Question here. Thank you for the love there, Desmond. I appreciate it. Here, moving right along. Good evening, Sergeant. As a first-generation Nepali Canadian, I know how important it is for diverse communities to see themselves represented in the uniform. How's the OPP leveraging first? I think your question got cut there, and I think it just goes back to what I was talking and speaking to earlier. I think from a recruitment as a recruiting officer, and certainly I can speak for my unit and my organization, I think it's we make sure we try and recruit and make sure we reflect the communities that we serve. So you probably see us at a lot of events, events that are diverse, a lot of events that welcome newcomers. I think certainly, especially when we target and speak to newcomers that are in the country, maybe they're not aware that they actually can be police officers with some of the skill sets that they have and bring to the table, even if they don't have any law enforcement knowledge or experience, because they bring a lot of skill sets that are beneficial to our organization. So we certainly do try and engage and go to a lot of organizations that mentor and look opportunities to give. So a lot of organizations that you might see us in terms of job growth certainly is something that we attend. We do a lot of virtual information sessions, and certainly we also do in-person events at some of these organizations. So if you're part of some of these organizations, please look out for us. So we do participate not within GTA only, but also in different parts of the provinces. So again, that's also a benefit in terms of making sure our organization is getting the right type of skill sets, not only from an experience perspective, but also from a cultural perspective. Okay. Question here. I guess is one of our recruiting partners. Great job today, Sarge. From Regina Police Service Recruiting Unit. We met at the Blue Line last March. Yes, Sergeant. How are you? Can you tell me why applicants should choose the OPP over your competitors? Okay, you're putting me on the spot. No, I appreciate that. Certainly, being the largest deployed service in the province, I think one of the biggest attractions for many of our candidates, and we're seeing this also with our experienced officer intake, with a lot of officers choosing to start their second part of their career with us, provide in terms of sheer size, is growth and movement. I think many of our officers want to be able to try different things in one career. And I think I'm going into my 13th year as an officer, and I can probably pull up my internal website for job posting. I can guarantee you I will probably see over 50 postings for different units that are looking to hire officers for various roles. And I can go on and on about that. I think one of the biggest draws for our organization is the opportunity to grow, move, try different things, whether you want to be a canine officer, an ERT officer, whether you want to be a scuba diver, emergency medic. So there's a lot of different things, or even a pilot. We actually have officers that are pilots. It's unbelievable. So I think that's one facet of it. The other facet is just the opportunity for you to move around. I think that's one of the biggest draws for us. I started off in East Region, and I transferred back to the GTA. I've had the opportunity to work in different parts of the province. So, having the ability to physically move, set up in a different part of the province, maybe you're looking for something different or unique, I think we're able to offer that. Whether you go to the Northeast and Northwest, where it's the area that we cover is vast, but the experience that you get working there from a nature perspective is remarkable. So again, you can probably show up to work at Toronto Detachment where you'd be on the 401, you're in your cruiser, but you can still show up in Moosonee or some of the locations we have in Northeast or Northwest, and when you show up, you're probably in the wintertime taking a snowmobile out of your vehicle. So I think for you, when I say it in that sense, some of our members, when they listen to that, or potential candidates, it really facet. And in this day and age, with the cost of living as where it is right now, some of the opportunities that we provide, self as from a housing perspective, to have all that, I think certainly we're able to offer. And I think more and more we're seeing candidates consider those factors and trying to kind of take advantage of that as they move to different areas of the location within the province. So I think that's what we offer, and I can see that when I speak to our recruits that they're getting into their first year and they're moving into the third year and the fifth, and I'm seeing the growth that they're able to have, the movement that they're able to get into. Sometimes just physically they're able to move, or even the opportunities for the units that they're able to get into. I think certainly does speak well. But I can go on and on about some of these things, but I'm going to just keep it to those two factors that I spoke about. Okay, so we're already at 5 more minutes. I know definitely this time around I did not answer all the questions. I know for a fact, and I know there's a lot of questions that I'm leaving on the table. Question here, the last one. I think the traffic. Somebody wants to join the traffic unit in Ottawa. I think you should speak to our recruiter David Gorbiel. He's one of our outreach recruitment officers that works out of the traffic unit in Ottawa. So if you give him a call at the Ottawa detachment, I think he will totally explain everything that you want to know about it, and I'm pretty sure he'll also sell you the job while you talk to him. Okay, but going back to some of the things I wanted to touch on, and again, thank you for joining me in the session today. There's a few sessions that we have coming up in person in the GTA and in our website opp.ca/events. I will be in Mississauga tomorrow, and I will be in Brampton City Hall on Friday. So if you're able to make it out, please come on by. We will chat more in depth about our process, but also certainly everything beyond some of the nuances of questions that people ask, and it kind of it's a snowballing effect. We kind of go off of that. But this Saturday we're going to be in Ottawa for the Fit Fest event. I know Louise and her team have been working hard to put this event together, and certainly from an OPP recruitment perspective, we're proud to be there and take part in it. So we will be there at the Immaculata Field on July 25th at 11:30 a.m. So look forward to seeing many of you there. If you're still looking on our events page and get the links to attend that, and our shuttle run sessions and Honda Indy sessions, again, we will throughout the summer, and hopefully, if there is a specific question or information that you want to know, which is maybe stop or making you feel about considering this profession, I would say just reach out to us, opp.hire@opp.ca. Certainly you can DM our social media coordinator. She's literally right there looking at me, and ask the questions that you want to know. And I'm pretty in the sense of to sugarcoat to you, but at least I'll give you the answer that you want to know about the questions that you're asking. That way, at least you're making an informed decision about whether you want to apply for the consul position, the auxiliary position, or maybe there's a civilian position that's a fit for you. No matter what it is, certainly we're actively hiring for a lot of our openings. The only way that you'll know about it is to kind of reach out and ask or inquire. So again, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. Whatever it is that you're doing, focus on your fitness. Level 7 is what we're looking for. Come and see us at our in-person shuttle run sessions. We'll be having new locations such as the one in Barrie, the LA Fitness in Barrie, that we're going to be starting up. So we thank them for their partnership and support. But wherever it is, or whatever it is that you're focusing on in terms of areas that you're looking to improve yourself, to make yourself competitive in, I wish you all the very best. And certainly we will see you at the next session. Brampton City Hall is Friday at 11 a.m. and Mississauga Detachment is also tomorrow at 11 a.m. Okay, thanks everybody, and we'll see you at the next session.